Hello, and welcome to The Rare Agent, where we pull back the curtain. We're your hosts, Murray, Mary Jo, and Christina, offering a judgment-free space for collaboration. On today's episode, we have the incredible Chef Jagger Gordon, a culinary maestro with a heart of gold. He is the founder of Feed It Forward, a not-for-profit on a mission to end food waste and hunger in Canada. Thank you, Jagger, for joining us on our podcast.
Well, I really appreciate being here. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Making funny faces at me all this.
That's why I'm sitting across from you.
Tell us, Jagger, what was the inspo to start Feed It Forward, and maybe share some of like the beginnings with us.
What made me start Feed It Forward? Well, you know, as a chef, I saw the copious amounts of food being wasted in my own kitchen. And at one great time, I had my biggest event ever, and I ran short of my timing, and I had so much food left over. Long story short, I had thousands of meals left over from one of my catering gigs, and I was never versed on what to do with it. So I said, hey, why don't we just do a little pop-up and in a park and see what happens? And sure enough, on Thanksgiving, I had a few hundred people show up for a hot meal, and it opened my eyes. So from there on in, I started focusing on other people and chefs who had extra food. And I said, hey, man, we can go out on weekends and weekdays and feed people on the streets and get that really good vibe. Well, from there, it progressed.
That's awesome. Yeah. Can you share some of the stats with us? Like, how many people do you think in Canada are living with food insecurities, and
so
how much do you provide? Like that kind of.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let me look at my numbers here. So 58% of all food that's manufactured here in Canada gets destroyed before it even gets to market, which means that could feed world hunger times 4 annually.
Wow.
Why does that happen?
It's a really good question. Why? Because we're so complacent in having everything perfect here. And we also rely on what's called the best before date. Now, that's a marketing scheme where it allows people to know that you should monitor your stuff before you eat it, because we can't, as a manufacturer, can't, really guarantee the flavor profiles, the coloring, or the packaging at that time. But as a consumer, and that we paid all that money for that product, we really need to focus on what we're utilizing, because that's still good. It's still edible. And you have to be a little more sensible of what you purchase and how much you use it.
Can you give us an example of what's being thrown out and in quantities? Because I know personally that you rescue a lot of food, and I've seen the amounts of food that you rescue from grocery stores, restaurants. So when you get a skid of something, like, what's wrong with it? Why is it being rescued?
Okay, so let's look at it from Feed It Forward, just to bring back up to speed what we do. We're a food rescue system that utilizes food that's blemished, not usable, or needed, and or has excess. And we're talking tens of millions of pounds that we've utilized. So having that said, people... Go back to the question.
I just want people to understand what type of food is actually being thrown out.
Right. Everything's being thrown out. So look at your fridge and look at everything that you've bought. 58% of it, you're throwing it away. So let's just start at the home consumer. When you're inside your kitchen and you look in your fridge, and after 3 days, everything starts to blemish. And as children or whoever's in that household doesn't like seeing something a little brown or bruised or whatever it is, so we throw it away. So my educational key component is to tell you, utilize it, chop it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and put it in your freezer and utilize it for a soup, stew, or chili, or even a beverage. But on the larger scales, from our farming to our warehousing, our logistics, we've noticed that all the companies have something that's stayed behind. And what we try to educate these big pharma companies is, hey, you won't be sued if you give me their food, because everyone seems to think that if we give our past best before dates or stuff that doesn't look good, or we can get sued. And unfortunately for them, I had to educate each and every one of them about the Good Samaritan's Act 94, meaning that any food that's in good standing, if you donate it to me, there's no liability anymore. I take on the onus as the chef. And then that's where we distribute millions of pounds of food.
And where do you distribute your food from?
Right. So we have our farming. So Feed It Forward starts with its farms. So we distribute that food out to you. Pick what you need, take what you need, and leave it for others. That gets distributed out to communities. Then from when we have our logistics and our warehousing from all the food that we've acquired, we basically put that into our food system where we give it back to other agencies that are in need or throughout our own kitchens. And moving forward from there, that product goes into our kitchens where we develop these pre-made meals or larger form products that are given back to the agencies or families that are in need from there. Furthermore, the products and produce that are still edible and that we can utilize, we put that into our Pay What You Can, which was the Pay What You Can grocery store. Now it's called the Feed It Forward Bridge Between Paychecks grocery store, where it allows everybody to have the, dignity to go shopping and living a healthier lifestyle through their stomachs. Now, the grocery store, meaning once you come into our grocery store, it allows you to shop and basically take what you need, and it's affordable now because it's 50 to 70% off the retail price and primarily all organic.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know about the grocery store, maybe just expand a little bit about what it is, where
I
it
don't
is.
know.
Yep.
Yeah, like I know personally, but I know there's a lot of people listening who are hearing grocery store, but they're just they're not understanding what that means.
Right. So, I've come up with the idea after we opened up our first Pay What You Can free restaurant in downtown Toronto, where it allows everyone to shop, take what they need, and it's free if they can't afford it, where they can feed themselves and their family. I've noticed how many people are coming through there, so I saved up enough money to open up a grocery store. And our first grocery store was pretty amazing because that was the Pay What You Can system, where people came in and paid what they could and took everything that they can.
That's from food that you have rescued.
Everything is rescued. Really, great question. So that wasn't sustainable because more product was going out and less was coming in. So I changed the model a bit, changed another location, made it bigger, where people can come in and notice that we have Shoppers Drug Mart there, we have Whole Foods, we have Petite Duet, we have these great providers that give us our fresh baked goods.
End of day goods.
End of day, yeah, or first of the morning.
Or
the overtures. So a baker may have a lot of product that's on demand, but an associated company won't pick it up, so it'll still be as fresh as it could be. So it's hit or miss, but everything's still edible.
Yeah.
So what I love about is when people can come in now as community members. It used to be a lot of people coming in saying, "Oh, can I have a free meal? Can I have this?" We honor that. For sure, you can have whatever you want for free to feed you and your family for the day. But now the community comes to shop because they want to be socially responsible by eliminating food waste and making it affordable where they can actually purchase other things that they're saving on their grocery bills now. And that's huge, especially during these times on the statistics. I mean, let's look at how many people in Ontario used the food banks last year. And I think it was 300,000 people, and it's up like 38% now.
Is that year over year?
That's just
this year.
That's just this year, and it's up 38%.
Yeah, and this is everybody. Like they're
normal people.
Just people with high paying jobs who are now being forced because yes, they can pay their rent, but they may not be able to actually feed their family.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say the store is located at.
It's in the Junctions at 2770 Dundas Street West, Keelan Dundas area. It's a great little area. It's a pocket where there's property-rich people, but yet struggling for their next meal. And then they've decided to put renters in them in the basements or whatever it is. And those, unfortunately, that as high as rent is, they can't really afford healthier food. So that's where our grocery store comes in, where it just gives, that organic produce to anyone. I mean, imagine instead of paying $6, it's now $1 or $2.
And I've personally shopped at the store. I've come in, I still do, and we volunteered with Chef. All of us, I think, have volunteered with Chef Jagger Gordon over the years for Christmas and various events that you've done. But when I walked through the store, I mean, I remember the first time I came after you had it all set up. I was amazed because I saw products from Whole Foods, Loblaws, No Frills, Shoppers Drug Mart, and there's nothing wrong with this food. There's no reason why this food should have been thrown out.
They're just making room on their shelf because I'll give you an example. One of our biggest providers that gives us the organic products, 3 days prior to the optimal freshness date, they destroy everything. And that's their business model, because everything has to look perfect and pristine on the shelves.
And why don't they donate it?
They do.
No, I mean, like, why would they destroy it versus
Well,
donating?
so
Because of the liability. That you were talking about.
this is an interesting question, because back in the day when we first started, I was the hooligan rattling the cages all around the world, especially here in Canada, to make awareness to all the companies that you can give me the food. And that's how it started. And that's how a lot of these programs have been implemented into the big system of food now, and let alone Starbucks. Starbucks in 2017, and they called me up from Tennessee and said, hey, we have a truckload of Ethiopian blend Starbucks beans. And we
have some of that.
we would love, we heard all about what you're doing. We'd love, can you utilize it and give it back to the community? Well, let alone, they shipped up 40,000 packages of it from Iowa, but every single person that couldn't afford Starbucks got to see and taste how delicious it was. And that was back in 2017. I think they still have one of those bags on my shelf as a trophy. And so since then, they've implemented a program through all their systems where food's rescued every day. And that leads into our free food sharing app, right? And that's where I invite everyone to understand that anyone can be a food rescue hero at their house now, their business. They can share food. I've created this app where it's called Feed It Forward, and you can download it on both platforms, iOS and Android. And if you had a piece of, like, let's say, for instance, you had a bowl of soup, or a pot of soup, and you couldn't finish it all. Well, you can share that now, or you can share a truckload of apples that are sitting in that truck that you want to find a home for. And you take a picture of it, you upload it like Uber. It shows you where and when that food's available.
You know when that would be really helpful? I thinking of my data life, my mom gardens, and she has a tomato garden that is so too many tomatoes, like more than we need, more than like every time you go, you're leaving with 8. That would be amazing. That we could just, like, her garden stuff, like, overgrown,
right?
More than enough. Like,
you let your neighbor know, or your friends, or the kids, or whoever wants to make a pasta or whatever it is, and it showcases where and when it's available.
I think
absolutely.
So how does it work? Like, so basically, you upload the app, and
you take a picture of what you want to share with someone, or what you're looking for, right? And it has a mapping system around the world in the different languages, and it shows you where and when that food's available.
So it's worldwide.
It is worldwide. All the countries that I've brought it to is primarily where it's been utilized so far. So,
and how does it get delivered, picked up? Like, how does that work?
So it's up to the person who's responding for the food to make their own way to that location where it's being distributed out.
It's almost like a Facebook ad. So you go on Marketplace, let's say, and you find something, and you're like, oh, I like that. I'm going to come and get it. It's the same idea.
Same principle through an app, right?
That is so cool.
And it's not generated, but it's the difference between Facebook, if we're going to utilize Meta, I don't have proprietorship of all the programs that I've created, from our farming to our warehousing, our logistics, our kitchen, our restaurant, our grocery store, and the app. It's about people to utilize it for free and share it. Every design and every creation of all 13 that I've to eliminate food waste and help others with is just to be replicated by others. Because through all these programs that we've created, and it's ran by over 2,800 registered volunteers, has absolutely no funding. So imagine running a grocery store. Imagine running a restaurant that's in the so the pay what you can restaurant called the Soup Bar is from the store downtown, went right into the scholastic systems, into the colleges where it fed the students, where we built restaurants inside.
We did the Soup Bar at Humber College.
So that was, again, doing all this without funding. So imagine.
How are you doing it without funding?
Well, I believe in myself, and I believe my social enterprise. I'm a chef. I have a great catering operation that does film and television, where I assist with that, and where I'm able to come to your house and cook for you and charge you what my value is. And I bring the molecular gastronomic techniques. I bring science to food. I bring the world's best plate as the artist that I am. You know, as a culinary artist, the plate's my canvas, and that funds the Feed It Forward programs, where I've decided that I will invest into myself. And now I've learned from all of my friends and board of directors to start asking people to help us so we can further assist people. Because, you know, what was it, a few years
built
ago?
it and they've come now.
Right. It's like the Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. If you build it, they will come. So I've built all the programs to show how I've written the books to show you how it can be done. Now it's for others to replicate. So that's my dream now, is to make everything sustainable where I can travel and show others how it should be done and how it could be done.
A better way.
Yeah. Have you been helping people open like similar grocery stores? Have you?
People can't afford it.
Oh, they can't.
It's, there's too many moving parts. What I really would love to see in the near future is actually the grocery stores having a section for Feed It Forward.
That's a great idea.
Right. So where people they know that the name that there's going to be blemished products there, it's going to be reduced. They also can have the idea that there's going to be frozen meals prepared by those products that were rescued from within their own chain or their own store, and they're able to obtain a healthy, balanced meal at a fraction of its cost. So that's in the near future. Yeah.
It's so inspiring. I think that you probably don't have a problem selling the idea to people, because it's like, I'm inspired just listening to you right now.
And it's a need that everybody
It
has.
is a
it's
need.
Just the cost of it to make it.
That's just it. Well, food doesn't have boundaries or borders, nor does hunger. And food is not a privilege. And it sure seems like that, because I've traveled to many countries, and it's really sad to see that, let's take one of them example for like Ukraine. It's a war zone, and everything seems to be.
You were just in Ukraine.
I was on my second tour, and this past one was it was life-threatening. It was one of those I was put into positions where I should have never been in, because I was in a range of, no matter who's there or what, you're in range of death at any time and any day.
Why did you go to Ukraine? Let's just back up for a second. Why were you there?
Why was I there? Well, when there's a natural disaster or there's a crisis, I tend to want to be there to help people. And when I see that no one's really stepping in, like the first time I went to Ukraine, everyone was afraid to cross the border to get in there to help them. So I worked with World Central Kitchen, and understanding how far that meal went, I wanted to go further. So I went right into the war zones and to the trenches and saw things I could never unsee. And I got to familiarize myself with the logistics of how Ukrainians work, and to meet all types of people. And it was really eye-awakening to know who I can trust and who I can't trust. So my second tour back there, I knew all the people that I can work with, these NGOs and stuff like that. So I basically shipping containers of food that's rescued from Canada to Ukraine, because here in Canada, a lot of agencies and shelters and stuff don't take things that are past the best before date, because that's just their programming. But do you think other countries would refuse it? Absolutely not. So I bring like just last month 200,000 portions of food to be distributed out through Feed It Forward. Wow. And that's rescued. That's our waste being sent there, but still perfectly edible.
How do you get it to people once it's in Ukraine? Like,
so the NGOs so I've initialized the programs that I trust. Once the tractor trailer loads are unloaded off the ships, they're driven and brought into the local locations where they're distributed out to the displaced people and to the war zones.
And so the food comes in on ships.
Yeah.
And how long does that take from Canada?
It only 3 weeks. Yep. Everything is in short time, and it works really well. And last time I was there, I dodged a few bullets. I was even taken captive. I mean, I'm still dealing with that PTSD through my therapy, but knowing
They
that
held you captive?
Yep.
Just because you were bringing food in?
Because, yeah, that would be the term. I mean, my volunteers were wearing, dresses and, shorts or pants, and then we're going into live war zones where I'm just outside of sniper view, but infantry can kill me at any time. That's why I wanted to make sure I was just outside of that 300-yard range. And when we're in these little torn villages that are all bombed out, there's some people there and left, and unfortunately there's a lot of people that are there holding weapons that don't like strangers. And when I came in as a non-Ukrainian wearing a military outfit, a strategic outfit to protect me, full of Kevlar, I should say, not military, as a humanitarian, my other teams were all in civilians clothing. They thought I was a Russian spy. I'll just put it that way. I don't really want to talk too much about it, but being held for a few hours, being told I was going to die, stuff like that. It was a little too much. But at the end of it, it was really nice to see my translator and my team asking me at the end of it, why was I so cool, calm, and collective? Well, I said, what you can either come out of the humanitarian range and go into flight or fight. And I didn't see that I could fight my way out of this one. So I wanted to spend my last moments as happy as I could be and allow my surroundings to know that I'm safe with that. What I didn't know as when we were away is that my translator did not translate exactly what they were saying to me, that they wanted to kill me, that you are a Russian spy and la, la, la. And it was like, what I did know is that I had a gun, a Kalashnikov to my head, and I knew that I could die, but I didn't know the parameters of how intense it was. So it kind of put me in a really eerie place of, I will not put myself back into that circumstance again. So now that I have all these programs set up, I can now stay on the west end instead of the east end and watch the food move in, because I will go back to Ukraine. It's a beautiful country. The people are amazing. And so are the restaurants. Everyone lives normally there. When the air raids go off, I'm all geared up, put my helmet on, I'm strapped in, I go look for shelter, and they're like, oh, we'll just put our cup of tea, we'll turn the gas and the power off.
Because
and we'll
that's normalized for them.
Yeah. But so yes, moving around the world, natural disaster areas, war zones, Feed It Forward goes there. I go there because the app needs to be utilized in different languages. Everyone should be sharing food. And there's a crisis out there, and there's hunger. And this is where my day and night will never end. If there's a child that's going hungry on my watch or within my reach, I'll make sure I'm there first.
I don't think people realize just how bad it is. And I know all of us have worked with you over Christmas. And I don't know if it tends to get worse at Christmas or if this is year round, or maybe people just focus on it because it's Christmas. But this is a year round problem.
Right.
That seems to be getting worse, not better, even with the awareness. Like, who are you working with right now that's helping to support your cause?
Well, right now I'm working with you guys. Thank you. Because, remember when we worked together, we did 48,000 people.
Yeah.
On the holidays, 48,000 people. How was that? So this is one of my most memorable times with Feed It Forward is when every company said that I dealt with this, or if I didn't even deal with them, they said, how can we help you? And I'll give you, I'll plug IKEA. IKEA stepped in and says, whatever you want, we'll give you 50,000 items up to fill your little hamper boxes for Christmas, right? Vega was there. Vega gave us every type of product that they want, 50,000 of them, right? Gosh. So everyone just started stepping in so we could fill up these boxes. We had a 100,000 square foot warehouse. We had the Tibetan Community Culture Center, little Dalai Lama's headquarters when he comes around. And we had different.
Those are those boxes, those box hampers that we were filling.
We had hampers. We had our kitchens fired up, our meals being made, and the only thing that was missing, because we had presents, we had music, we had meals being prepared, we had the hamper boxes, but the only thing that was missing was the Christmas trees. Now, at that time, I had this production company that my daughter was involved with, and I think she was performing in one of their shows. It's called Handmaid's Tale. And Handmaid's Tale came in, the producers, and they said, we love what you're doing. How can we help? Well, I didn't know, but then we decided, what's the only thing that's missing? Christmas trees. So I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago, we had a Christmas tree shortage.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they went out with tractor trail loads and bought every Christmas tree they possibly can and brought it to us. So we had a drive-through. So every person that got a present or a box got a Christmas tree.
That's so cool.
Kia stepped in to give us all the things, the ornaments, the stands for them all.
Awesome.
And it was just an amazing thing to see. And I have a video of that still. I should always share that. But right now where we're at is we're doing this again. But it's a little small of a scale. I'm doing 20,000 meals in the next couple of weeks. I'm very short on my time right now because there's so much going on, but I will be in my kitchen fired up. And I just ask everyone to go to Feed It Forward. Go to feeditforward.ca, and you can also register to be a volunteer. We're pretty much filled up for the holidays, but the thing is you can also offer a meal to somebody. You can make a monetary donation, even $5 or $50,000. It doesn't matter what it's going to be, but as a nonprofit, we all can move forward and help another. right? Like I said, food's not a privilege, and we shouldn't make it that way.
Exactly.
Right.
And it feels really good to be a part of it and to be able to help people and families that are in need. I know for us it was amazing experience. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all volunteered, but I can tell you one of my, like, both my parents have passed, and one of my most memorable Christmases was working with Feed It Forward, where you created a space where people who didn't have a place to go could go somewhere safe and have a hot meal and have a live band and
for many years,
a room full of presents for the kids.
With Santa.
You're Santa.
We had
No. I'm Santa's elf. But we had Santa there. We had a live
Santa
band.
Claus. We had a live band, and
years.
I will never forget it. It was honestly one of my favorite Christmases to date.
Yeah, and your son was a big part of that too, as an ambassador to Feed It Forward. He's such an amazing kid. But you know what? Imagine as a child that has nothing, walking into a room and it's full of presents, right? Unwrapped presents too.
Yeah.
So you can pick whatever you want.
Oh, that's so cool.
And there are a lot of families who are displaced at Christmas, and I think that's something that people need to acknowledge. Like, there's a lot of, we all know, because we're in real estate, we know immigration's at an all-time high. We know there's a lot of refugees coming into this country who don't have a place to go. They don't have food to eat. And I actually just did a lease for a refugee family from Afghanistan, and I told them about Feed It Forward because, I mean, they can't afford their rent right now. So how are they going to afford food?
So talking into this conversation, Feed It Forward also is a part of the refugee crisis that we're dealing with right now. And we're feeding hundreds daily of the newly arrived refugees that are sleeping on floors. Wow. So I was invited to see certain locations and understand that how the government is inviting great people to come into our country, but yet through the process, there's no room and bed space for them. So they're put onto a mat, onto a floor, and a makeshift locations. And you know, it seems to me that there's a situation with funding for food. So I I don't care about the political ends of things and the financial end of things, but what bothers me is how do we not look out for the people that we've invited into our country that are new future policymakers, our future of things to be, and yet we don't give them what exactly their essentials. So that's where we step in and we feed them. All right. And this is where I'm asking people out there, because Feed It Forward has absolutely no funding, doesn't have government grants. I have a problem. And that's to ask for help for money, because I wanted to show how Feed It Forward can be ran by volunteers and through my own pocket to show how it can be replicated. Because when money comes in, and when that money runs out, the programs stop. It's fact. My programs haven't stopped because I work twice as hard. But imagine if we all work together, how much easier that would be on my end, so I can create new dynamic ideas for the world.
If you've done all this without any funding, imagine what you can do with it.
It's my time.
It's time to ask.
It's time to ask. And you know what? I'm asking now. And I look forward to it because I'm getting older. And I find that, you know, I'm so ambitious, but I don't run as fast as I used to.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
Yes, and we're the village.
And you've grown
Santa's village.
Yeah. You've grown it so much that now it makes sense that you it's just become such a big entity that you're going to need different people helping and investing in it, in your idea.
Speaking of investing, I hold a lot of accolades. I hold a lot of awards. I've been given a lot of great things for the achievements that I do. Okay, but that's behind me. What's ahead of me is I was labeled as Global Hero, and Global Hero has now come forward, and they have a television series documentary. It's going to be all over the world, and it's called A Beautiful World. And they've chosen me as a global hero to do a documentary on Feed It Forward.
Wow.
We go to film in February, and it's a very big production, and it's going to be a really nice thing to actually start showing the world of the progress that we've done, and how many more people we're going to reach out with everyone else's help listening to me right now. As every single person participates by making a donation or volunteering, we grow. And this is where the message is. We all can do it together.
Well, and with everything that's going on in the world right now, I think it's so important to have this type of inspiration and also to be an example of what you can do. It's really easy to feel disempowered, and it's really, really easy to feel hopeless. So the fact that you were able to do this, so you started it on your own and you're growing it so much, and there's so many great ideas, and you're reaching so many different people who are in need. The fact that you can do that makes other people feel like different things are possible, that they can actually make a difference. I think that's huge.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm empowered.
It's a ripple effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Feed it forward, pay it forward.
You know what the best part is when I get someone that comes into my grocery store or to one of our programs and we hand a meal over, or they're able to take what they want and see the smile on that child's face. Because when I was a child, I didn't have parents. I mean, I was a military baby. I started in military school and I just loved progressing from there. And my mother was never around, but I always had a neighbor who had a beautiful home. I live in a little small apartment in this beautiful neighborhood in Montreal called Outremont. And I swear that he had a beautiful home and a family where I'd go to on weekends to watch his color TV and have 5 boxes of cereal and be able to pick what I want, and because I had no one at home. And that's where the inspiration came, because family means everything. And if you don't have blood family, you make family. And breaking bread at the table is
Food is
this is how we do it.
Food is universal. I mean, if you can do anything in any language, it's you can eat a meal together.
And that's why I love going to all these countries, learning different cuisines, and being able to show my flair with it too. No matter where I'm at, I'll never have a job. I'll never be out of a job, because everybody needs to eat. So if anyone's looking for a caterer, the private chef's experience, or needs a catering operation done for themselves, I'm available all the time because I have a great team.
So why don't we talk a little bit more about that? Like, what kind of chef experience do you offer?
Right. So we have the ability to get to do thousands of people a day, or just to give you the private, intimate space between, 6 to as many people as you want to host in your house. I come into your house, I bring my team, I give you the culinary explosion of either teaching you how to cook it, or you just let me tantalize your taste buds with my amuse bouche and making your mouth water and go, pow, wow, and when can I get you back, Jag? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything to do with food I can create. Anything, any cuisine in the world, I'm confident enough that I can make, and if I can't, we'll make it together.
What has your culinary journey been like? Like, what did it
from Thailand to India to the Mediterranean and everywhere in the world.
You've gone to these places
yes.
too and learned.
Yes, I've been to almost 60 countries now, and I'm quite well versed in a lot of cuisines. And I'm always learning.
So you cater for movie sets. You also do events.
Our operation, Donnie Blaze has, he's a partner of ours, and he has Blazing Kitchen, and he's a legend.
Okay.
So he does film and television.
Right.
So we've been a part of that for many years, and it's such a great team because there's this enormous kitchen continuously producing food. So let's say, for instance, Sylvester Stallone had this incredible meal that we prepared, then it would be the same meal that's offered to someone on the street.
That's amazing.
Or someone that's offered and that's hungry, because I mean, it's the same food.
Yeah.
Why would
So
you?
I take it you've cooked for Sylvester Stallone?
I can't use that word right now, but I said sly, sorry. But you know what? I've prepared a lot of incredible food for a lot of stars, yes, and especially around the world too. So if anyone needs me to fly out, I do fly within 24 hours.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's why I'm never really around.
No, I know.
You gotta pay the bills, right?
So
Yeah, and plus I have a lot of NDAs and a lot of
Yeah.
you can't really disclose the private and personal information about people. And I was just using that as an example. And probably I would say that I never did cook for him, just off on the record.
So what is a piece of advice or a message you'd like to our listeners to take away from you fighting food waste and hunger?
It's very simple. I created a free food sharing app. I created the idea. My team wrote the wire. We developed it. It hasn't publicly gone out there yet. I've brought it everywhere around the world. I just want people to utilize it. I want people to go to feedifor.ca, download the app. Just use it. Use it once. Share it within your friends. If you got something in the fridge or you make a meal, and if you're all coming over anyways, use it, because I need to see the user interaction. I need to see how valuable it is to people, because, I created, I pay for it, and I just want to make sure it's used.
Now, is there any safety concerns around that? Because I'm sure people are wondering, okay, I see this pot of soup that somebody wants to share, how do I know that I'm safe to eat that pot of soup?
So on the site, my website, feedafford.ca, when you go to the app, you'll have a question box to overview the Food and Safety Act, and so you understand the valuable information that's needed to maintain the integrity of good food. Okay, but in a technical term, I think everyone who's utilizing the app should be smart and savvy enough to know that whatever country you're in, that if you have food that if you've made or that's blemished, that you need to let it go, or day-old bread or whatever it is, it's still fine.
But is there a rating system as well? I thought you had a rating system where you could say, you know what, I got food from this place, and
Kind of like Airbnb.
So
Airbnb.
the back end, I get to have that information. I don't like to discriminate or share. We will eliminate. We've never had any problems yet at all whatsoever. I do believe that but what we do have is a carbon footprint calculator. So it calculates basically the emissions that we're saving from the local landfill that's being utilized by that area. And one day when I publicize, when I can show the stats of how many people in this part of the country or this city are fighting against each other, making a difference by eliminating food waste, because we also have that crisis and that problem with our atmosphere, right? We have the greenhouse gases, and we have a lot of things coming up where global warming's happening. And unfortunately, our landfills with food is causing a percentage of that, especially in Canada. Imagine 58. Imagine your plate and 58% of that you just decided to throw away. Go into a restaurant.
That's insane.
58%
That's
of
more
it.
than half. That's
Right?
crazy.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked by that.
So how long did it take you to make that money to buy that food? Took you that week, that 2 weeks when you get your paycheck. So you're purchasing all this stuff in your fridge. It looks glamorous for the family and stuff, but you start throwing things away. That's your hour by hour by hour of food that you're throwing away that you worked hard for.
So if you're spending $100 a week, let's just say, you're throwing away $58.
You got
That's
Basically.
crazy.
I think everybody can look in their fridge or consider when you're doing Thanksgiving or doing an event. A lot of us are in this position where we tend to overcook or make too much food. Then what do you do with that food? And this is a perfect example of how we can now do something about it.
right.
Like here's an opportunity for you to take that leftover food and actually make sure somebody else is getting something to eat.
That's a new TV segment I'd love to create, is where we have this competition of how people can utilize food that's left over, or it needs to be repurposed, I should say. Get home chefs and let them start creating the best meal out of something that doesn't look as perfect as it should be.
I would watch it.
Right?
Yeah.
I would totally
Right,
watch
because
it.
it's something we all do in the kitchen. It's all great. We can learn how to do fabulous dishes, but what about all that stuff that's sitting in the fridge?
What can you do with leftovers?
And I'll
What can
go-
you do with the food that's in your fridge? And how much? And if you actually calculated it, how much money do you think you're saving? And how many people can you feed?
You made, so it took you 100 hours. No, excuse me. You had $100. It's 58 of that you're already thrown away, right? That's a lot of money, right? Okay, that's all I have to say. That's your money. Why throw that money away when you can throw it to someone who can utilize that food, such as me?
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm even thinking about let's say you buy a rutabaga. I'm just giving a very simple example, and you only need half of it. I don't think people think about, okay, why don't you think about more than one recipe? Like when you're buying specific things, like now I tend, because of you, really, I go to the grocery store and I actually plan out my meals for the week, knowing that I'm going to use up most of my ingredients because I know I don't want to spend that much money on wasted groceries. I actually do pay attention. But I think it's important to educate as much as possible that you can do more with your food. And I think people, don't realize how easy it actually is. We're so used to convenience. And that's probably one of the biggest
I also
problems.
think it's education on being us, the best before dates, understanding what that really means,
And
and
for
that
which
you
products.
can eat
Absolutely.
afterwards. And I have family members that they're really they don't like leftovers, like they don't like microwaving their food, or they just eat it the one time and then that's it. And I think changing that type of mentality where it's just like, why wouldn't you eat over leftover food? Like it's just
Yeah, but who have we become that suddenly we're so entitled that we, shouldn't eat something that's a day old?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what-
it's just
I'm really good at that. I just want to say I'm always repurposing food
Yeah.
and making like sometimes the next day tastes even better. You put a few
Oh,
other
yeah.
ingredients in it and it's
Exactly.
like I hate wasting food.
Oh, I've met a few people where they don't eat leftovers, and I think it's like, what are you even talking? How did your where did you grow up that your
I
parents didn't?
love leftovers.
You were
So do I. I mean, things do taste a lot better when they're left over too.
absolutely.
Especially Thanksgiving dinner. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's my favorite.
You know, moving forward, not to say too much of it because I am under a contract. I'm a chef consultant, and I was brought in on this new program, this AI program, where now you just take a picture of the food in your fridge or in your cupboards, and you just put it all into one little system, and it gives you all the recipes what to put together.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I can't
That
say
is
much
so
more, but
cool.
yeah, imagine being
You
able
heard
to
it here
not know
first.
anything, but you're just taking pictures of everything that you have. What can I make with it? And all of a sudden, it gives you the recipe.
Is this an
That
app?
is so cool.
Is it an app?
For those less
What are you sharing
creative.
here? I feel
It's
like
AI.
I have an
that's a
onion,
teaser.
a potato, and a tomato. What am I making?
You're making part of a sandwich.
It's in progress.
Yeah, I love that.
And
You can throw anything in eggs.
Pretty much.
I
Or
like
soup.
putting yogurt with my scrambled eggs.
Oh.
But the other day I put vanilla yogurt by accident.
Oh.
I still ate it.
So that turn.
I'm
So
not
that would be
ashamed.
more that you can. That'd be custardy, more sweet.
Yeah.
That's actually.
I ate it.
I'm-
I've had sweet eggs before.
It was not what I expected.
Yeah.
There was a moment of shock, but I got over it.
But,
ate
but
it.
the Japanese eggs, they actually do add sugar.
Oh,
Like when they're making the for the sushi, you know
Oh,
that egg
right.
thing,
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they add sugar to it. So to me, that would taste very similar.
yeah. It's not my favorite, I would like to say, but I
custardy,
still
custardy
ate it.
So you
ways.
make
needed
it
the-
with it, or you put it on top
So
like
no,
a dollop?
I scramble the eggs, and then when it's done, I put the just plain yogurt on top.
like a dollop on top.
So good.
Yeah, to make the perfect scrambled egg, there's certain techniques, and almost to the end of it, we always add a little butter to it, just to creamy it. Like you never
At the
have it
end.
at the end. Well, throughout. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on the consistency of what you're doing, keeping it on the heat, off the heat. But yogurt is a big thing to it too. So you just add it while you're cooking, just at the end, not too hot, so it doesn't
Yeah.
separate and curdle. But there's so many. Yeah, you know what? It doesn't hurt to engage yourself to new things in the kitchen, and if you know flavor profiles work with each other, like vanilla, vanilla yogurt does not work with eggs, but it could if you're making something savory sweet
Yeah.
with it, right? But not into a scrambled eggs.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. I wouldn't recommend it.
Experimenting in the kitchen is always fun because you just never know, right? And once you get to learn spices and the flavor profiles and how to put them together, man, you got something new.
After I took the George Brown course, I realized I was heavily under seasoning my food. I was like, oh, I didn't
Also-
realize because my mom,
Yeah.
I watched my mom growing up, and that's kind of the basis of my cooking. And she doesn't cook she's very Greek based. It's the same spices. And then I saw the chef like seasoning stuff, and I was like, I am under seasoning my food. And now it's like my food is so much more elevated now that I know that I can add a little bit more seasoning and it's not going to ruin it.
Hello. As a Greek, I understand. I'm not Greek, but I get that. I know Greek
It's just
cuisine.
like 5 spices:
Yeah.
oregano, salt, pepper, paprika, lemon.
Lemon.
Yeah. And then that's it.
And cinnamon and clove.
But having that said, fair. Where was I going to go with this? I was just like, forget about it.
You lost
Exploring
it.
with cooking. Exploring with
I feel like that's a good challenge that you could put to your partner or to even team challenges where you can say, here's a bunch of leftover food. Who can come up with the best recipe?
Seasoning. This is where I'm going to get back.
Oh, okay.
Trick of the trade, always season at the end. Because when you're cooking and if you reduce something or there's something you keep on I got potatoes I'm going to put in there. I'm going to salt the potatoes. Oh, I got carrots. I'm going to salt the carrots. Oh, the meat. I got to salt and flavor the meat. And you put it all into one pot. That's all that sodium and all that salt in one place. So what you do is you cook off whatever you have to do and then you taste and then you go, I'll add. Keep on tasting because you can always take it out. Or you can never take it out, but you can always put it in.
You can always add.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I was a chef in a past life. I know this stuff. Nobody ever told me. I just do it.
Been hanging around a few chefs.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually teaching my kids to eat not only for flavor, like always, you want flavor, but you also want to eat for nutrition. I think it's really important because I think as a society, as just a society, we've learned to associate food with emotion so much that it becomes a problem. So I think associating food to health and also making it tasty is kind of a good way to go. That's what I'm trying to do with my kids right now.
Yeah. I think also that we've gotten so used to processed foods.
Yes.
The foods that aren't real.
Exactly.
And to Jagger's point, you can buy blemished or bruised fruit and vegetables and you can absolutely still use them. Even if they don't look good, they're still nutritious and they're still good for you. And there's a lot you can do with it.
Much better than something you get out of a box.
Exactly.
I get so excited. So when you go to a grocery store, you always shop on the outside of the grocery store, by the way.
Yes.
You never shop on the inside because everything is processed.
Exactly.
But when you do on the outside of the grocery store, you're going to find that one little hidden section with the racking system that shows you where the blemished food is. And that excites me. But what even excites me more is when I see people shopping there because people are actually thinking ahead and making themselves their pockets a little more affordable for other things. But on the contrary, just to finish up what I really am passionate about, I just want to give my gratitude to each and every one of you, especially for the ones that are listening. Because what I'm inviting everyone to is, there's a big need to help, and everyone go to feeditforward.ca, make a monetary donation, volunteer if they can for the near future. But also use our app. Like share. If you just imagine just being able to share a meal, and even if it's within your own friends, like it's a beacon, like the bat signal, right? Where you'll be able to hold, you get a signal and you know that, oh my God, Mary has got a chili and it's ready. Okay, and there's only 12 bowls available. I'm going to take one of them or two of them, and all your friends can then basically have. And
I love
give.
that. I think that's awesome.
I think that
Let's
we
do
should
it.
try that.
Let's do it. Yeah, I want to do it.
We'll all cook
I'll
something.
cook. Yeah, we'll all cook.
We'll all
right?
cook something and then let's test it out and
It's
say,
like
okay,
sharing food.
Here's
I
what
love
got.
it. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love cooking
Just
for
one
people.
step further, right, out of our day to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that note, thank
Every
you,
little
Chef
bit
Jagger,
counts.
for being on our podcast today. Well, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else and our listeners have. And thank you so much for sharing and being so open.
And it's feeditforward.ca if you want to make a donation.
Yeah.
And the store is located at
2770 Dundas Street West, Toronto. And all the information's on our website. Yeah. And there's so much more to come. And I can't wait to disclose it the next time I come on.
Is there anything for Christmas that you want to share?
Yes. We're doing 20,000 meals. And there's no funding for it. So that's my goal. It takes a value to put everything forward, time management, location, packaging, let alone the great food that I'm putting into these meals. I am the guy that puts in the time. I'm the guy that finds the food, but I don't have funding for packaging and the distribution and the trucks that I pay for. Like everything has a value to it. I hate talking about it, but now I've learned to say, yeah, you know what? My fleet of vehicles come out of my pocket and the gas is expensive. And if you can help out that meal, I want you to watch my progress because you can go to Instagram at Chef Jagger Gordon and you get to see my mission and all my missions are on there. You just got to scroll through and check it out. Again, that's Chef Jagger Gordon on Instagram.
Thanks,
Boom.
Thank you.
Boom.
Thank you.
If I had a mic, I'd drop it.
Follow for
Enough
follow.
with your dropping of mics, okay?
Thank you so much. We've, I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all friends here. And you know what? All our listeners are friends too. And it's a big, happy family when we can all work together.
Yeah.
Possibilities are endless.
teamwork makes the dream work.
Doesn't it ever?
Boom.
On that note, thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and to check out Feed It Forward.
Opa!
And we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Me.